to my video presentation 2. Today I'm going to talk about 1970s economic shocks. 1970s were the decade during which the myth of actual prosperity was shattered. The American economy and the economic psyche of American people endured a series of shocks that recast the international economy and the United States position in it as less hegemonic and more uncertain than it had been in generations. Some of fundamental sources of these economic problems were rooted in United States domestic and economic policies. There are 4 events in this paper. First is the Nixon shock. Second, the OPEC shocks, the North-South conflicts, and demand for an NIEO and trade with Japan and the rest of the world. Let's start with the Nixon shock in 1971. On August 14, 1971, with the value of the dollar at its lowest point since World War II, President Richard Nixon announced that the United States was unilaterally devaluing the dollar, suspending its convertibility to gold and imposing a 10% special tariff on imports. In more analytical terms, the principal significance was threefold. 1. United States economic responsibility for the willing to grant economic concession to allies by helping their economic reconstruction and ensure their political stability. 2. The international monetary system based on fixed exchange rate and the gold standard had crumbled with the United States abandonment of the gold standard. And 3. The free trade versus protectionism debate was reopened in United States domestic policy. Labor unions had generally supported free trade during the 1950s and 1960s. They had lobbied for loopholes for industry facing the tortuous competition from imports, but had supported most free trade bills. But with the United States running a mechanized trade deficit for the first time since 1893, labor unions shift their politics accordingly, becoming much more protectionist. The OPEC shocks or oil crisis is a sudden rise in the price of oil that is often accompanied by decreased supplies, since oil provides the main source of energy for advanced industrial economies. An oil crisis can endanger economic and political stability throughout the global economy. So, there have 2 major of oil crises, first in 1973 and second in 1979. In 1973, all OPEC members agreed to 25% production cuts, full oil embargo target at the United States and the Netherlands for the support of Israel to the Yom Kippur War, and worldwide price increase of 325%. United States oil production had been falling since 1970. And in 1979, a result of the Iranian Revolution, prices were hiked, gas lines returned, unemployment was fed, inflation skyrocketed, interest rates hit double digits, and trade deficit shot up. The North-South conflict and demands for an NIEO. When OPEC successfully brought the industrialized world to heel, many third world countries saw an opportunity to redefine international economic relations toward greater equity and justice for the developing world South against the industrialized North. In May 1974, at the special session of the UN General Assembly, the South put forward a declaration of a new international economic order, or NIEO. This NIEO was intended to replace the LIEO. For the United States, this proposal treated both its economic interest and its free market ideology because the NIEO demanded higher price for raw material and commodity in the name of justice and equity. The NIEO called for some form of international regulation and supervision, and the NIEO even demand that modern science and technology be given to developing countries. So, the American economy depends on cheap commodity and raw material. An American multinational corporation has substantial investment in the third world. So that is why, for the United States, this proposal treats both its economic interest and its free market ideology, trade with Japan and the rest of the world. In 1960, Japan's per capita income was only 30% of the US level, about equal to that of Mexico, but between 1960 and 1970 its real GNP grew an average of more than 10% per year. Its mechanized exports grew even faster and its share of world export doubled between the mid-1960s and the mid-1980s. In the late 1970s, over the issue of Japan auto imports, Toyota, Nissan, and other Japanese car companies were bidding for General Motors and Chrysler, the big three automobile manufacturers in the United States. In both pride and reputation for quality. So when the American auto companies and union took their case to the International Trade Commission, the ICT ruled that the main problem was of the big three's old creation and denied the request to restrict Japanese auto imports. Japan's more prominent position in the world trade, the 1970s round of global trade negotiations was initiated in Tokyo, Japan capital. Like the previous decade round of negotiation going back to 1945, the Tokyo round was intended to promote free trade. It went further than its predecessors, however, not only lowering tariffs but also bringing down non-tariff barriers. And because of trade politics become so much more contentious at home over the course of the 1970s, a new United States legislative mechanism called Fast Track was developed to help ensure passage of the Tokyo round. Key concept from the events. Manaschanok is a series of economic measures undertaken by United States President Richard Nixon in 1971 in response to increasing inflation, the most significant of which were wage and price freezes, surcharges on imports, and unilateral cancellation of the direct international convertibility of the United States dollar to gold. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, is a group of 13 of the world's major oil exporting nations. OPEC was founded in 1960 to coordinate the petroleum policies of its members and to provide member states with technical and economic aid. Liberal International Economic Order (LIEO) is the set of regimes created after World War II designed to promote monetary stability and reduce barriers to the free flow of trade and capital. New International Economic Order (NIEO) is a set of proposals advocated by developing countries to end economic colonialism and dependency through a new interdependent economy. International Trade Commission (ITC) is the main United States regulatory agency on import relief cases. Tokyo Round, a multi-year multilateral trade negotiation between 102 nation-states that were party to the GATT. Negotiations result in reduced tariffs and establish new regulations aimed at controlling the proliferation of non-tariff barriers and voluntary export restrictions. Fast Track is the authority of President of the United States to negotiate international agreements in an expeditious manner with limited congressional oversight. National interest from these 1970s economic shocks is prosperity, because they did anything to keep the economy and prosperity or through many challenges. They have policy to promote the economy, and United States is a highly developed country with a market economy.